Work session. Madam Clerk, could you read the roll?
Mr. Jacobs, Mr. Morrissey,
I'm present.
Mr. Powers,
Here.
Mr. Lind,
Here.
Mr. Amos,
Here.
Mr. Schmidt,
Here.
Mr. Welper.
Here. Motion to approve agenda?
Second. Motion's been made. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We have an agenda. First up, we have our capital improvement project. No. Because we want you outside to...
Everything feels different on this side. Noel Anderson, what's that?
You'll find out.
Noel Anderson, Community Planning and Development Director. It's that time of year again where we go through and we look at the capital improvements program. I'll go through a little bit of notes just on what the capital improvements program is. Obviously, this is a 5-year plan that the city puts together for capital infrastructure to guide our bonding decisions and move ahead with the orderly development of the city. In providing equipment, infrastructure, and development. It is a 5-year plan. It's updated annually. The reason we do that is there's annual needs for new projects, new priorities. Sometimes there's federal or state mandates that we have to deal with. So again, we look at the existing program and updating that on an annual basis. How we do that, we send out a request for all the departments for their projects, for their funds, for planning ahead, what they're working on, what their priorities are. Then we set up meetings with all the departments to go over their projects. We go over their priorities, and actually you'll see in the sheets that they actually list the projects and list their priorities. Some of them get more detailed than others, saying high 1, high 2, medium 1, medium 2, and things like that. We'll also look at their unspent bond amounts that they have in existing bond funds and how that's being spent. We try to break out projects or different priorities as in terms of if there's a way to break it out for design, acquisition, and then actual construction, depending upon the project. So we're trying to look at the amounts that can be spent in a given time period of the next year to, again, prioritize which projects are moving ahead, which projects need construction funding in the next bond cycle. The funneling of projects to get targeted for the bond sale amount, we discuss and analyze those, and after meeting with all the departments, we look at priorities for the city, mandates for federal and state governments, previous project commitments that we may have made, previous agreement commitments for economic development or agreements with other communities, upcoming projects, infrastructure, etc., improvements in projects and steps to make them happen. We look at ongoing maintenance, infrastructure improvements, repairs and upgrades. We look at improvements for the growth and development of the city, efficiency of the existing systems, ongoing needs for equipment, maintenance, operation of departments. And we also look at other factors such as requests by citizens for us to look at certain things that we may not have noticed right off. The council may have priorities of things that they're working on, or the mayor, for new projects that are out there. We then go through the presentation back to the departments for the available funds. The department heads now, as you're looking at these sheets, and obviously today we're looking at council input, discussion with the various departments on how the funds are shown right now. The department heads will still be able to switch the line items to stay at the same total, or as the discussion today may change totals as we move ahead from council discussion. So we're at the point of the presentation to the City Council for the work session, review, questions, comments, any other information you want to share with us. After that, then we'd move to the discussion of the bond sale activity in relationship to the budget and the future bond sale coming up. I think last year, as we went through the CIP work session, we basically kind of went through it department by department once you had it in front of you. The first department is capital equipment and vehicles. That is Mark Rice. I don't know if anyone has any questions for Mr. Rice. As you flip through it, these are on the order they're in the packet. So you'd be looking at page 3 of the packet that was given to you for capital equipment and vehicles. As you'll look at the thing, the first column is a fiscal year 17, what was shown in there for the fiscal year 18 CIP. You'll see what was requested at 2.5 million, and you'll see it was approved at 330,000 roughly. Recommended for approval.
No, what you were reading there at the beginning of your presentation, is that something that you could send to us?
The process we go through?
Yeah.
Sure.
Thank you.
No, so for instance, on that line, well, the street number 19, no, not 19, it's not line 19, it's the $120,000. They requested a whole bunch of stuff. What is the 120 buying, do you know?
Correct.
Do you know what it's
What does
buying?
120 get? Mr. Rice can probably go into details of what, because he'll have some existing bond money that he may want to combine that with. Obviously, one of the most important things that catches your notice on there is there's a 1972 vehicle on there that may need replacement, but that might
Mark
not be a
Rice, Public
priority.
Works Director. The way that I established this is based on our equipment replacement targets. It's not only density of equipment, but department needs, condition of the overall fleet within those individual departments, and age and corrosion of the existing fleet, and whether it's actually continued to be used, or if there's a better way to do things. I was somewhat surprised, to be honest, to see that in spite of my list of requests, I was funded at the level that I'm funded at. It's going to be very difficult to replace many pieces of equipment based on that dollar amount.
Well, 120 doesn't buy anything, does it?
It
That's stuff
won't
that
buy
you
much. No, it won't buy much, to be honest. Not within the street department. One snow plow vehicle is almost 140,000 fully equipped. I do have some existing bond money for the street department that I try to keep back in the event we have issues from winter to winter. You never know what's going to break or what you're going to have as far as priorities. But no, to be honest, it won't buy a lot. The 1972 vintage machine that we're talking about is a snow blower that we use for downtown maintenance. So, you know, for a year like this, we've had to clean up downtown once. So does it justify having a second piece of equipment? Some years yes, some years no. But if you get into it and you don't have a backup piece of equipment, people tend to get owly, so to speak.
And no, how much did we get in requests?
The original request amount was 26.55 million.
And I think that's a huge challenge for every department, and that has to be whittled down. So, yeah, it's a challenge all the way around when you're only trying to budget about 8 million. But keep going, please.
And just as a note, you know, as we did go through and meet with the departments, we also tried to look at those rankings for what was the high priority for each department as well, and trying to keep with their priorities. The next one is Public Works. That is also Mr. Rice.
No. I just wondering how I understand you went through the process and that, but how do you prioritize one department's needs over another department's when you're doing this?
We tried to look at, first off, obviously, if there's any federal or state mandates that are out there, or any existing commitments that we have for, let's say, part 2 of a project that's already underway that we designed and now we're moving to construction and letting and all that. So we try to prioritize those that are actually moving ahead or in some kind of a time limit for being completed, is how we kind of try to prioritize them from the very beginning, and then we go through and try to work with the departments to try and get something done with them. Obviously, with the Public Works, you have, you know, a relatively new building out there, but these are obviously needed priorities out there for continuing to utilize the building to its utmost. And we'd like to try to continue to work with them to get some things done out there.
Well,
We also do look at, we also do look at the existing bond money they have. I mean, going back to the capital equipment and vehicles, they do have $1 million in existing bond money for replacing some equipment and vehicles as well. So again, things are in progress and things are being bought, but we're trying to utilize all the information we have to move ahead for the next year.
And what I'm looking at, Noel, is that same line that Tom, Councilman Lynn was looking at, that line 22, and last year the CIP was 250,000, right? Or the year we're in now, I mean. Yeah, okay, but he requested 1.25 million this year and is getting less than half of what he got last year, and I'm just curious as to what he requested last year that resulted in that 250,000, Noel. Especially given Director Rice's statement just a couple minutes ago.
Sure. And they update their sheets in the full CIP workbook that we'll provide to you, but there's descriptions of each project that they turn in. If there's any need for it to be faster, or as you can see on this was listed as a medium priority rank, so it didn't seem to be that urgent.
Okay, thanks.
There's nothing on Public Works on page 5. The next one is City Facility Management on page 7. Mark Bozen has been working on various projects for the City of Waterloo to try and keep everything going.
Noel,
Yes, sir.
with city facility management, under Center for the Arts, is there going to be some attention paid to the concrete there and how it's in such terrible shape?
On the parking lot outside?
Well, there's steps and everything there.
We're working with a kind of a master plan for that entire front parking lot area and redevelopment. Obviously, with the single-speed project going on, we prioritize kind of that southeast corner of that in the street system over there. We were looking at trying to build some of the parking lot this next year. With the Upper Plaza housing moving ahead, they're probably going to need a laydown area, so our concern was if we tried to do any more parking lot improvements or anything at this time, there wouldn't be much parking available between the construction area and the construction of us redoing the parking lot. So we'll probably be putting off doing any of the parking lot improvements on that until next year, or next CIP process.
But what about the steps and the sidewalk approaching as you're walking into the center? Is that going to get taken care of within this, or no?
We'd have to look at, again, working with Mark, if there'd be anything in that kind of that first column, the city facility remodeling funds and all that, if there'd be any funds in there that we could do some smaller improvement projects.
Okay. Okay, thanks.
No, on the 5 Sullivan Brothers Center, projecting out, we have a pretty aggressive amount of money we're spending. Do we have a master plan? Do we have somebody that's given us a kind of a what's going to cost to get this gold star level or the next best level? I mean, are we just throwing money at this, or we have a plan?
Some of these projects are specifically needed. For instance, if you need a grease trap, if we needed like some definite things, that's kind of what we're working on. So what we're doing, part of what is in here, I believe, is an entire building. I call it a building audit. Is that what we call it?
Yes, facilities audit.
Facilities audit, so that we can take a look at all of our buildings over the course of time to see exactly where we're headed at in the right direction. And the 5 Sullivan Brothers, actually, this $700,000 is probably a drop in the bucket to what we actually need. But we want to do exactly what you said, find out exactly everything there that we need to do from a bigger scope, and then start to take a look at what we're going to do. You know, there's a challenge with just even plaster falling and making sure we get some of those things cleaned up in the short term. So this isn't even enough, but these are going to address some of the immediate issues we have.
There's no further questions. On page 9, the clerk's got everything they asked for.
Kelly, I compliment you on your CIP request.
Thank you. I worked very hard on it.
On page 11 is planning and zoning development. The one item to note in there is there is a bond issue in there for the TechWorks project that's moving ahead at $8 million. So that is a little bit different, that it's paid for and paid back in a different way than the normal bonds. But that's a large item, obviously, in there for specifically for a project.
Is that the one where he pays the interest and the payback for
And
the
it's paid back
principal?
through the IRD project.
The
Iowa
principal
Reinvestment
is
District.
from the taxes collected in that district.
Yep,
But didn't he guarantee the interest payments on that one?
He will be making interest.
yes,
Yeah, so we're out, in theory, we're out nothing.
correct.
No, I get, I don't know, it says, under community planning and development, total planning and development is requested 10,879,000 and approved 10,340,000, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so where does the 10 million come from?
There's $8 million for the TechWorks. Oh, you mean where does the $10 million come from?
Okay.
And then there's 1.8 million that makes up the majority of this money for the Martin Road tax increment. You may recall we did a agreement last year with Harold Youngblood for Deer Creek out there at the Greyhound Park area to build out the rest of the infrastructure and pay him that 1.8 million for the rest of that build out. So that makes up the majority of the request here in 2 previously approved agreements.
So how much of that goes into the 8 million that we're allowed to, or our limit is for bonding?
So going back to the very first sheet, you'll notice that it'll show that there's 16 million that would be bonded because of the 8 million added on with the TechWorks project.
Okay.
So no, let me see if I can help Mr. Morris's question along.
I got it.
You have 10,345,000 approved. What portion of that is not increment finance and what portion is not tech work? So do you actually get, I know I see 120 for development projects, but what's the actual cost for it that we aren't obligated?
We have a contract for the downtown development plan. So really what, we have about 10.55.
157.5.
I'm adding wrong, yeah.
157,500 is what it, outside of those obligations, what it boils down to.
Okay.
Those are some big numbers.
And no, I have a couple questions on the downtown development plan. I thought we were paying for that out of TIF.
So Vanderwall's paid, the downtown TIF district doesn't make enough cash, so we actually bond for and then pay it back with the TIF.
Okay, and then on the complete streets, it was 222,000, now it's 20. What's that by? I don't understand what that is.
They had a couple of, I think they had about five or six different projects in there that they were looking at to try to get something started under the Complete Streets program. I believe the smallest one was 14 to 17,000 estimate, and there was another one in there that was 20 to 25,000. So we'll look at those 2 projects and see which one to start with to kind of see and meeting some of their Complete Streets goals.
But what is, give me an example of the project, that's what I'm asking. What do we do?
It's a lot of it is sidewalk infill.
Okay.
Remember, the state eliminated the Safe Routes to School program, and now that's paid for through the federal road dollars or just by local communities. And so they're looking at some of those types of projects to create more pedestrian-friendly roadways.
Okay.
The next department on page 13 is the airport.
And that is the parking lot equipment that I've heard so many times. So this also, I believe, will be a revenue generator.
But as a result, too, I noticed on the budget, proposed budget, we've increased the revenue at the parking lot, probably as a result of buying new equipment, isn't it?
And this is the first time they've been included in a long time.
I believe so,
on the
yes.
CIP project as well.
Page 15 is engineering. Mr. Thorson is here. They have a lot of mandates, especially on the levee systems. Obviously, the 63 project is going ahead with the DOT, just to kind of highlight some of their projects that are out there.
Is the Verdon Creek levy, is any of that money go to cleaning out the tunnel?
Eric says no.
Okay.
Eric, what would that 1.2 million be for then? For Verdon Creek?
Eric Thorson, the engineer. If you remember, in the past, we've been kind of holding off on raising the levee out there, but now FEMA has indicated they're going to go ahead and do the mapping, so we've got to work on getting that levee raised, or there'll be a lot of folks out in that area, they're going to have to buy flood insurance. So we're hoping that with this money and some future money, we can get something started out there, and hopefully that'll be good enough for FEMA to keep those folks from having to buy flood insurance, but they should have their mapping done within the next 2 years, so we're going to have to be pretty aggressive on that to get that levee raised. So this will be some of the construction money. You won't see probably any construction this year, but we've got to start building up some money. It's about a $3.6 million project, so.
Eric, I know that one of the things that talked to you about and the mayor about is out there off of 63 and the problems that there are with the waterway back there and the flooding that occurs to the back of some of those homes. Is any of this money going to help that at all?
No, this is strictly for raising the levee.
Is there any money for those problems out there that repeatedly get turned in?
Not that I'm aware of at this time.
Did we, to add to, if you don't mind, to add to Councilman Morris' question, wasn't there a fix for that we had discussed? Are you familiar with the project he's talking about?
Well, there've been a number of different ones. Maybe I'm not thinking of the right one, but
Well, this is the one, that little drain area had a lot of trees, and I think, who was it that went in there? Was it Leisure Services had gone in there to clean it out on 63, which, I think that's the project, right?
Right, and
What do you mean?
one of the problems, I think, was that there were some condemnation procedures that had not been accomplished out there. That has been going on for years. And, but in the meantime, the people out there still have that flooding issue that comes up.
that's a different project, Pat. I'm sorry. We do have funding for that. We're waiting for some easements so we can let that project. So that funding is already in place.
It is.
Mhm.
Yeah, that was from a year or two ago, so
Yeah, we've been building up funds for several years.
we just need to light a fire.
Eric, are we talking about the Delane Avenue? I've been getting calls on that. That drainage problem over there. Is that the same one you're talking about?
No, this is different.
No, this is Verdon Creek north of town.
Oh, okay.
I thought you meant the one residence that we
Yeah.
had talked to.
Yes, it is. But that's right off of 63 north,
Right.
short of the airport, or airline drive.
Yeah. We were talking about the same one, Pat.
Yeah.
We are.
Okay.
So there's any federal dollars at all we can hope for on the Delane Avenue
No.
situation?
Not at this point.
So those people don't have to buy flood insurance?
No, Delane's a different one. That's some improvements on a drainage way there, which we're working on design. Again, we're waiting for some easements so that the consultant can get some borings and finish up the design. And then we'll have to find money. But again, that's a over $2 million project.
Yeah.
So, but we're moving ahead slowly.
Okay.
Eric, could we use any of the material that's in that Verdon Creek tunnel to repair or raise the levee?
Actually, the levee will be raised by a wall system. The soils are there such that we can't really just raise the soils. We've got to put a wall system in there to meet the requirements.
Okay.
On that, I have a question on the Verdon Creek piece. Has there ever been have we ever looked at building a dam system out in the county if there happens to be county ground available, so we can hold that water back
Well,
rather than running.
Actually, for Verdon Creek, there already is a dam.
Yeah,
There's a
huge.
large dam that's out in the county, just as you spoke about.
All
And
right.
we maintain that. It's part of our flood control system, and there are some repairs that are necessary with that, too. If you look further down, Verdon Creek Dam repairs, out years, we need about $250,000 to make some repairs out there at some point.
So it doesn't seem to me that that it's working, because
Well,
we're getting a lot of water down there and it's running across 63 and causing us a lot of expense year after year.
Well, it's tied into the whole system, so when there's enough rainfall, that does get closed and holds back water in order to keep flooding from happening downstream from that.
Okay.
Eric, are you done, Councilman Powers?
Yeah, I'm done.
Going back to this mapping, you know, in the past, we've had some erroneous information as far as some of these hydraulics and that kind of thing. You know, we had buildings on the wrong side of the dike downtown. We had out in the 6th Street corridor, we had some bad information there. Who monitors this or makes sure they have the correct information? I mean, who does the mapping? Is it?
Well, FEMA does the mapping.
Okay.
In Verdon Creek in particular, it's just that the levee system that's there now is close to handling a 100-year flood, but we have to have freeboard, so we've got to raise that in order to meet the current standards. And so we have to raise it about a little over 3 feet. And so that's the reason for this money, is to get that raised up, and then that'll keep people out of harm's way when a flood comes, and they won't have to buy flood insurance. If we don't raise it, as they remap this area, that will put those areas into the flood area, and then folks will have to buy flood insurance. And it's a pretty significant amount of homes that would be impacted.
But so this money's actually for the walls, not for redoing the maps, correct?
No, FEMA pays for that.
Okay.
That comes out of federal dollars.
But again, who helps make sure they're accurate? Because in the past, they obviously have
Well,
not been.
generally speaking, hopefully we'll get a chance. They've been better about letting us look at things ahead of time before they actually publish and finalize things. Some things came through several years ago on some other drainage ways, and we noticed some things that we didn't think were correct. And if you recall, we also hired AECOM to look into some things and come up with some information that was put into the system to correct some things that that we thought were incorrect and did help. But the process is just getting started on Verdon Creek, so at some point, probably in the next year and a half, hopefully we'll get to look at something and see if we agree or not, or whatever. So.
There were some citizens that hired their own engineers to prove that FEMA was wrong.
I think there were some that hired to do a letter of map amendment to get out of the area, which can be done, but this is a much larger area.
Yeah. Okay.
That whole area behind Cooley's new development, those people didn't they hire their own?
Yep.
To challenge FEMA and same as Sunnyside Creek. Remember, a lot of those people had to go out and prove with new elevations or readings that FEMA wasn't correct and had the map changed.
This project on Verdon Creek is really all about meeting the federal standards for the levee system. We had our levees certified recently, and the Verdon Creek levee can't be certified because it doesn't have the freeboard. So it's really about bringing that up to current standards, and it really ties in what we've been doing on the whole levee system, bringing everything up to standards so that we're in line with federal standards for levees.
Is the measurement nowadays 100-year flood or 500-year flood, or what's the, we get it?
Well, it's a 100-year flood, and then there's some freeboard, and it's generally about 3 feet as an average, and it gets you up closer to the 500-year event.
Okay.
Eric, do we have anything on here for Sink Creek, or are we done with that from our perspective?
Well, we have a project that we have plans for. We're trying to get our DNR permit, and that was the next phase, to go out there and do some straightening and more clean out of that channel near the Cedar Terrace subdivision. So as soon as we're able to secure the permit from the DNR, we plan on letting that this spring. So I believe we have enough funding for this next phase. There'd be some other work further down in out years that still needs to be done, but this was the next phase that we said we'd do.
And are there any conversations going on between us and the county about that area?
There have not been recently. Former Mayor Clark had some pretty in-depth discussions with the county, and they were not interested at all in participating in that at that time.
So those folks out there, they need to be talking to the county, not to the city, right?
Well, we'll do what we can within the city, and there certainly is more we need to do too, but we're trying to take it at a nice pace and get some things done that we can at reasonable cost. The larger project is also very expensive.
But the lower end of that is in the county, and that's where the ultimate roadblock or water block is.
Well, the water definitely goes out into the county, and the channel is not very well defined once it gets into the county, and not as well defined in the city as it should be, and that's what we're working on at least.
Thank you.
Eric, another thing with 4th Street Canopy Bridge, I don't know for sure what's going to happen there, but let's just say what if it goes through that option 2 is going to pass and the bids are going to come in okay in that. And down here, or on here, 4th Street Bridge number 12, walkway canopy repairs and painting, I see that there's nothing in there. There's a requested $100,000 but then zero in there. And I know that one of the conversations that had taken place and many of the residents had talked about it was a need to have money put in there on a regular basis for maintenance of that bridge so it doesn't get in as bad a shape as what it is right now. And I'm just wondering if something like that could get put in this on a recurring basis so that that bridge can stay in good shape.
Yeah, we could definitely look at that. That would have to be in some out years, obviously.
Okay, thanks. Oh, well, and Noel, one other question is, the second to last thing here under engineering is sidewalk infill. But then we just had talked in community planning and development about sidewalk infill with complete streets. Is there 2 different lines that is bonded for, or it looks like it?
So there's a sidewalk infill. I guess one of the things engineering's talked about in the past is a policy to actually do sidewalk infill as we do our normal sidewalk program. And Eric can probably discuss that a little bit more.
Well, actually, I think this particular $140,000 that we were asking for was part of the 220 that Noel talked about, so there was some overlap there.
Oh. Okay, thanks.
Page 17 is cultural and arts. They did not request any funds. They were working with Mr. Bozen to include that in the overall city building funds. Page 19 is the finance department annual cost for the GEO bond sale. Page 21 is fire rescue. Again, trying to go with working towards movement on some of their high priorities.
No, or Pat, which engine is the one that's in the shop now with the frame? Is that one of those 329 or 303?
No, Pat Treeler, Chief Fire Services. It's engine 306.
Okay. These are different ones. Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
So if we don't get 306 back this fiscal year, we'll throw it in for replacement next year.
Okay. And the brush truck, what do you do? Get some money this year and some money next year, and then that's enough money to replace the brush truck?
Yeah, if we get the money next year.
But 75 won't do it, is what you're saying?
Yeah, if I'm reading it right, it's approved at 75.
That won't buy that brush
No,
truck?
it won't.
Okay.
And I thought we tried to stay away from that in the past, but, we're respectful of that and we'll take it, but it won't get us a truck in next year's bond cycle.
Okay.
Page 23 is information services.
What's the GIS? Can somebody tell me? 4?
What page are you on?
I'm sorry, for information services, page 23.
The microphone stand replacement in there.
Department's that, department that come out of, yeah.
Chris Youngblood, IT Director. GIS is Geographic Information Systems. We utilize that throughout the city for mapping of things such as water lines, sewer lines, sidewalks. It's really the whole infrastructure of the city. So right now we're a little bit siloed in the way that we do our things. It's tough to share information. So what we're trying to do is come up with more of an enterprise type system. And a couple of months, or this was early January, we had Pro West GIS out of Minnesota come in and do an assessment, and they'll be coming to council here hopefully sometime in March to give everyone an update on how that went, what their recommendations are. So what we're trying to do is plan ahead to get some expansion of that.
Thank you.
And the GIS rating of importance is probably one of the most important tools we have interdepartment from.
It is. We're lacking quite a bit in what we do behind other cities, so what we're trying to do is catch up.
So, Chris, what we try to do is fire, police, engineering, waterworks, everybody kind of
We've met with,
coordinate.
they met with every department in the city. When they were here for a week, and our hope is to allow, every department to be able to utilize it in some capacity.
Good.
I've got a question on GIS. Does the county have a system already that we could be teaming up with or looking to where we could grow so that we're doing for future growth, looking how the county is set up as well as Waterloo and other communities within the Cedar Valley are set up where there's potential for business growth, expansion, emergency response, all of those kinds of engineering, everything in terms of an entire county system rather than us doing one on our own?
We've had some discussions with both the county and with the city of Cedar Falls. We've been over there to see what they're doing. They're a little bit ahead of us, I would say. So I think before we can really, I think that's a good idea, is we need to be able to partner with them, but we need to kind of get our ducks in a row first to make sure that all of our stuff is up to speed.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that because I think there's other areas where Cedar Falls isn't up to speed and we're certainly helping them a lot. So.
Yeah. And I think one of the things, some of you heard me talk about this already, was the formation of our internal technology group. And one of the things that Chris was trying to do was bring all the pieces together. We had this department over here, that department over here. We had multi-departments taking a look at GIS. Now we're to the point where we brought a specialist in to kind of help us coordinate those efforts, and everyone remains on the same page. But we have had conversations with the county, as you indicated, Cedar Falls as well, trying to see how we can work this thing together more efficiently and consistently across the county.
Just to add to that, I think that the key going forward is compatibility. A lot of times we'll have maps that'll interconnect with the county systems and all that in terms of putting layers on and showing different infrastructure, floodplains and things like that. And we utilize computer programs now for required mailings of zonings based on the county system that we can hook into to give us those names and all that. So there's some of that going on, but Chris is kind of taking that to the next level.
Well, I appreciate, I got one more quick question for Chris, if I could, and that's on cybersecurity. Are we confident that our cybersecurity systems are good enough for potentially health records or invasion in our computer systems for blocking it, knowing when it's going to happen or when it's happened? And does that need to look, I mean, that's obviously going to be future dollars, but
We're constantly looking at that. Are we confident? I don't think you can ever be 100% confident, but I would say that we are.
I don't think they can act.
I think we do a really good job of it. And again, it's something that we constantly look at, and we're actually looking at some upgrades now to help us. One of the areas that I'll be looking at would be, there's firms that will do penetration testing that will come in, and they'll tell you exactly how secure you should feel. So those are things that we're looking at too.
So that may be in our budget. Those companies can try to send in a bad email, and our employees will be trained on it. Okay, thank you.
Page 25 is leisure services. It's hard to say. There's no questions on that one. Page 27 is the library. They had one request. One of the discussion items was to see if that could be funded through a different method other than bonding. Page 29 is the police department.
No.
Yes, sir.
Can I go back to the library?
Yes, sir.
These requests come from Steve, right? This request would?
That is correct.
Okay, and you were here the other day when he was talking about accreditation being 3 years down the road, and I see nothing in there at all. Wouldn't it be pertinent to have something in there so that accreditation is not going to be a problem for a library?
That would obviously be something that should be discussed with Steve. Michelle's shaking her head, but I don't know why.
These don't have anything
I don't
to
think
do with
CIP
accreditation.
affects the
Nothing with
accreditation.
that. Okay, thanks.
Hey, no, can I ask a quick question, one page back on leisure services, I'm sorry. I thought we built that chemical storage building. I thought that was done.
Paul Hudding, Leisure Services, you're right, and this is going to fall off. It is built, but there are some plumbing and other final items that have to be completed. The building is up, the contract is complete, but we still have some plumbing and electrical to do.
Is that something we can do internally? Do we have staff that can do that internally? Okay, okay. Okay.
I don't know if there's any questions for the police department.
I have a quick question. Is the video detection cameras, safety cameras, are they in your budget or are they in traffic's budget?
Dan Trelka, Chief of Police. They are not in our budget. That'll ultimately, I believe, for the Finance Committee to decide and make a recommendation where that funding comes from.
Okay. Oh, and a quick question about the tasers. Is that enough money to get that deal that we had offered to us?
It is not, no.
Well, how are we going to do that then?
We will have to, I'll have to talk about that with my management team. I don't know.
Page 31 is sign and traffic.
And Sandy, the 260,000 for Green Hill and Progress, is that the conversation we've been having for a little while with the neighbors out there in the apartment development, in that neighborhood?
Sandy Greco, Superintendent of Traffic. That's a guesstimate, and I'm a little surprised to see all of our money put in there, because when we had our CIP meetings, first of all, the agreement was to design it this year, because we have no design. We don't know what we need. We're talking left turn channels, left turn lanes, right-of-way, maybe moving sewer intakes. It's not designed, so we don't know yet. If we take $40,000 of this money and design it this year, then we know what we need to order for materials and equipment, what needs to be done. Even if we would get it designed this year, to order materials and equipment is 90 to 120 days. There's no way we'd get it installed this year because we have 2 other signalized projects that we're installing. So it wouldn't be till next year anyway. So we are working on it, but it has to be designed. We're working with the engineering because they would have to do the right-of-way and left turn channels and all that. So the only thing, I guess what we would like to do is design it and do a good design and do it right this year, and then next spring start installation.
Well, your neighbors will be glad to hear that, you know, we're progressing along.
Yes.
Would there be any chance in the interim, I mean, is it feasible to slow that traffic down right in that particular area if it's a known potential?
We can do a speed study out there, but the majority of the drivers are probably driving faster than they should be.
Right.
So to do the speed study, and if it's figured that most people are driving over the speed limit, we can't lower it because they're not gonna slow down.
Yep, thanks.
So the $200,000 will not design and build,
Probably not,
and it's not gonna be done this year at all anyway?
no. We are planning on doing this in-house to save a lot of money, because if we contract it out, you're gonna add at least 20 to 30% onto materials, equipment, and labor. We've tried, it does not qualify for a state traffic safety grant. We've tried that, it does not qualify. So we can't get any funding from the DOT to do this, so it all has to be in-house.
Roundabout?
We need to talk to engineering and planning about that, but you're talking a tremendous amount more.
So there's no option for any traffic controls for that intersection in the interim?
Not really. I mean, we can.
But
look-
there's definitely room for communication going forward.
Yes, yes.
So Sandy, am I hearing you don't need that much money?
Well, I need to put that money back into my maintenance, because we purchase our streetlight poles that we replace every year, because we have some that are ready to fall over because they're rusted so bad. We also do our video detection cameras there, our traffic safety improvements. If we have grants, we use that money to match. So we're a maintenance department, so that's what we use the money for, is arrows, sign equipment, streetlights, LEDs.
How much do you, the fiber portion of it, did you ever ask for fiber, to lay fiber?
We have that in our CIP now, and we also have, I believe it's like a $300,000 grant
Okay.
that we're working on, yes.
All right, thank you.
Just one last comment on that Green Hill project. It certainly shows that there was a priority to do that,
Yes,
and that's appreciated by the
And we feel
neighbors
that it
out
is.
there, and you feel it's a priority. I'm glad to see that from a personal standpoint as well, so. But I wish we could get a light in there sooner than later, if there's.
Sandy?
yes.
Looking through here, and this, I feel like I'm an old scratchy record, but the park-to-park complete street, there's no there's nothing in here about that. I know that we've talked about that incessantly, and I take it that even though it's not in any bond money, that we're still talking about being able to get that accomplished here within the next year if we can get that brought up and move it forward.
Yes,
Okay,
we're still working on that.
okay, thanks.
Well, how would you do it if you didn't get money to do it?
A lot of it would be in-house because a lot of it is paint, and there's different options that will be brought to you in a work session shortly.
You know, so you were talking about the process before, and here's an example of maybe we don't need all the money on one line item, that intersection, this year.
Correct.
Could we move it over to, say, video detection cameras, public safety cameras?
So as the department head, Sandy will have the ability to go ahead and disperse that money to the other items in this page.
Okay, so if we wanted our input on that subject, who do we talk to? Sandy, you, the mayor? Who do we talk to?
I think you'd want to start with Sandy to make sure that she's, if you want her to move 100,000 as an example to traffic signal improvements, she would be the one to talk to about doing that and then turning it back into us.
Okay. When are we going to vote on this?
Tonight?
Michelle, do you have a timeline you need
Next
the
week or
actual program approved?
I think if we can get it taken care of in the next several weeks, we had to go ahead and proceed with estimated language so that we could publish it and have it ready for March 9th, because we have to approve something March 9th. We will have to have additional hearings after that, and it could be incorporated into that.
But if we move line item to line item, the language covers us.
Well, not necessarily. The projects need to be in the language. That's why I need the department heads to, we need to get this all settled so that we can get the right language drafted.
So-
It's possible it's covered, but it's possible it's not.
So Tom, why don't you, Councilman Lynn, why don't you go ahead and email Sandy, CC me on it. Okay. Then we'll take a look at it, get with Noel, and see how we could do this, I guess. That train.
Yeah.
It's a happening town.
Quiet zone.
No.
Yes.
So, with certain discretion, department head can move money around within a department.
Correct.
With certain discretion.
And then that's when it'll come to you for final
Right.
approval.
Can't move from department to another department, correct?
If you directed it here,
But typically.
Typically.
Or it couldn't happen without council approval.
correct.
Okay. And then who's on the committee again that puts this all together?
Tim Mandera is the one that really does the majority of the work. Myself, the mayor, and the CFO.
Thank you.
And later, we need to get all the project language covered. It is very possible that money would move between departments later if it works with the mayor and if the language is all covered. So that is possible because every single project comes to council to be approved before it's let. So you all vote before any money is ever spent. So it is possible that amendments happen. It's pretty rare, probably extremely rare to see it move between departments. But it would be more likely that it would move between lines within a department, assuming that the language is covered in the hearing.
Page 33 is code enforcement. It was decided that their request to be met through the sanitary sewer operating funds. Because that's where code enforcement is paid from. Oh, I'm sorry, sanitation. That's a sewer. Page 35 is waste management. And we're still working with them on the final prioritization of their projects.
Now, no, in the past, I've been in meetings where Waste Management kind of got busted because they had too much money in the bank. Are we getting projects let and
That is
spending
exactly
mon-
what we're looking at, is how much funds that they have, where they're at on those projects proceeding, which ones are actually in progress now, which ones are going to be going, let's say next year you have a $3 million project, but in reality, it's going to take you 8 months to design it, so you really only need 200,000. So we're trying to get a schedule of exactly where they're all at and see what we need to bond.
So we're getting ahead of that
Correct.
problem. And is the pressure of the EPA giving us a little more incentive to get some of this stuff done?
I think the consent decree always has to come to play. I don't know that we're behind on anything in there, but we obviously have to keep their priorities as well as our priorities for needs all attuned as to how we move ahead.
Sure.
If there's no more questions, thank you very much.
Thank you, Noel.
Oh, yeah.
We are now moving on to our budget discussion. Michelle?
Good afternoon, everybody. We just thought we would review the published budget and certainly open for questions. That might be the best way to approach it. The published budget used additional needs requests, which I believe we covered in all the departmental meetings. So on an individual department basis, you've all heard what those individual requests were, and then we incorporated them into publication. And the reason that we do that is because state code says once we publish, we can't increase either the tax levy above the published rate or the maximum expenses that we spend by program. So we tend to set that high to give all of you flexibility in your decision-making process about what you want to fund and what you ultimately want the tax levy to be. And I'm not going to go through any particular line items. I just wanted you to have the entire publication, which does result in a tax levy of $17.99.
Excuse me, Michelle, did you say you had handouts for us today?
Oh, yes, we do. I forgot. I'm sorry. It is also on your iPads in the Novus system, so, and it's also on the screens, but I did forget about the handouts.
What attachment are we gonna be looking at first? Any of them or all of them?
I'm probably going to talk about the change in cost one the most. I did give you the other, and if you have specific questions, we can discuss them whenever you are ready.
Michelle, can I ask a quick question to go back to the original presentation?
Yep.
Am I right in reading your handouts? We only grew last year by less than 0.5%, about $715,000, new tax money. Is that
Are you talking about in 18 or 17?
between change in tax dollars from 17 to 18?
That's
$715,000.
That's probably correct.
That's about right.
I would have to, I would want to double check that.
But in other words, we didn't get a lot of new money to spend, is what I'm trying to say.
What we got was about $685,000. It depends on what tax levy rate you're at, how much new money you got. So I'm going to talk about that in a few minutes, but I can jump ahead right now. If we left our tax levy rate the same as it was in fiscal 17, then our new tax dollars, if the rate remained the same, is about $685,000.
Okay, that's, I'm trying to get a
Yeah, I'm sorry. It took me a minute to get on the same page with you.
To start with.
Yeah, that's it.
And you're going to go through the change in cost?
I can, as much, whatever you want to discuss. We've got, I'm discussing changes from the fiscal 17 certified version And our total personal services increases are about 1.1 million. A lot of that is made up of raises. We do have a new garage mechanic added to that. And the additional amount needed to fund a firefighter position that was previously funded with a grant. There are also some leisure services positions that are new in there, but they also reduced a position and took out part-time, so I did not break those all out because those positions net to no change on the tax levy. So you don't see those in this separately listed. This is a good year for the police and fire pension. It was down, the contribution rate for 18 is down just slightly. And so you may have a question about why is the total contribution going up when the rate is going down, and that's because of pay increases and that sort of thing.
And is the health insurance decrease, is that our self-insured premium that we've
It is.
We don't need to contribute so much to that?
Correct. And if we're taking quite a bit out of the health insurance reserves for 17, and this, while it looks like only 70,000, it's actually more than that that'll probably be coming out of reserves to fund estimated claims. So we are trying to use some of the health insurance reserves without using too much of them at one time. So, I keep getting trigger happy here. So, contractual services changes, I don't know, I can discuss each line item if you want to. Know what your preference is. Mayor, do you have a preference how we go through it?
No, just, I'm open to what the council.
Well, like work comp, why did that go up so much?
We are seeing our claims history increasing. We have some large cases this year, so I am anticipating that trend will probably continue into fiscal 18, and that's why I'm suggesting we budget more. If you remember, that's pretty much self-insured also. We do carry stop loss, of course. As you can see, the numbers add up quickly, but there really aren't very many single line items that are a lot of dollars. There are a lot of small dollars that get us to the total of about $254,000. If we don't have other questions about those, we can go on to the next page. In the commodities section, again, not a great deal of money under any one category. Probably the election costs are the largest item, and they're a change because it's every other year. So total commodities increase about $117,000. And you see airport come up on here several times. If you recall, he was requesting an additional $86,000. And so we have those incorporated into this request level. Revenue, unfortunately, we are projecting a net reduction in revenue of about $75,000. Some of the more, and so if things are in parentheses, that's an increase, just to be clear about that. Again, there's not necessarily any one line item that's large. The gas and electric franchise fee is probably the largest at a reduction of $70,000. We just are not seeing that revenue come in where it was projected, whether that's because of milder weather or I suspect there's a little bit to do with the change in law at the state level to do with manufacturers and materials they use in their process. I think that may be having a small impact as well. So that, our cable TV franchise fee is also lagging a little bit, so we've reduced that projection. On the other hand, ambulance fees, the fire chief is projecting an increase there. That's some of the larger items in that category. So our total net increases in expense and revenue is $1,562,285. 4.98% increase. And if you go to that last page, you can see the total increase of $1,562,000, which takes about 69 cents on the levy to fund that. And then in response to Mr. Lynn's question was how much new revenue we got. If we assume that we wanted our levy rate to stay the same as 17, the new revenue would be about 685,000. And then we would still have 877,000 left to either fund or reduce. And that adds about 39 cents to the levy from 17. And that's how we go to the 17.99.
So if we decrease the levy rate by 39 cents, we would be where we were last year. Am I looking at that right?
Correct.
Okay.
How much money is that?
$877,000. What's the goal? When we adopted those goals, we were going to try to cut about 22 cents a year for the next 5 years. Is the goal 1760 minus 22 cents? Is that the goal?
That's what I need all of you to tell me exactly.
Well, I mean, I'm asking, is that our goal?
Yes. I think, I don't know if was the strategic indicator 22 cents a year, or was it that in 2021 would be at 1650?
Yeah, I mean, that was the thing.
So
It was 2022, I believe.
2022.
Which way are we gonna do it? We're gonna wait till the last year when none of us are here and
that's it.
hope they do it?
Well, that's a good question. So that's why I'm kind of want to hear some of your thoughts. And then also, I think we, March 2nd, if you can kind of let me know what some areas you want to see us kind of take a look at, some decreases over here, some increased revenues over here, and then try to get you the information on Monday. That's short turnaround to get stuff on Thursday, to get it to her, so that on Monday, we can come to the council meeting with some different objectives. Then from there, I can take in suggestions and then try to put something together. And hopefully, we'll take a look at schedules and see if we can have some type of work session or special meeting prior to that Thursday, so you guys can have not a whole lot of time, but a little time to kind of review a proposal. It's a very short time frame, and it'll be a lot of work this weekend to try to get your proposals or conversations or cuts or additions to you by Monday.
Michelle, before last couple of years, we had those spreadsheets that kind of showed a couple of scenarios to begin with. We doing that this year?
That's what I'm trying to get. If we can get them in March 2nd, we can possibly have them that Monday.
Okay.
For you to kind of
Those
have
are
a study.
helpful to me to see
Oh, yeah.
what I'm talking about.
Yeah. So suggestions, get them to us. And, the conversation about 22 cents versus 1760 versus, we know 17.99 is unacceptable. But it's going to take some manna falling from the sky.
Well, that was just, I'm thinking,
We gotta have a
what
target.
are we gonna do?
Yeah.
What's our target? Yeah, what's our goal?
So if you want to shoot me an email, I think I got one email already with the suggestion, the target. So if you guys want to send me whatever, we can make it work, or we can take a look at it.
Michelle,
Yes.
how much of the general fund balance, the fund balance, is in here?
The 500,000 that you saw in the base request.
The 500,000 in the
So,
base
yes, unfortunately, even to do this, we're still using $500,000 of our general fund.
leaving how much left?
Well, I don't know yet what 17 is going to bring us. Based on 16, that would put us down to about 9.3 million, below where I would like to see us be. We're at June of 16, we're at 20.4%, where I'm still trying to work up to 25%, but.
Michelle, the rollback money from the state is, what is it, 1.8 million or so, or 7 to 8 million? Is that in here still?
Yes.
Okay, and have we had any further updates since we last talked about where we think that's gonna end up? Are we gonna retain most of that, or?
The sense that I am hearing for fiscal 18 is that we will likely receive that. Unfortunately, until the legislature adjourns, we don't know for sure, but the indications are that we'll receive it, so we have budgeted that.
Yeah, that's been the conversation to follow through on that commitment.
And so to put that in perspective, that's more than this 1.5 million. You'd be looking at another 73-ish cents maybe. To add to the
75 cents, wouldn't it?
Pardon me?
Be another 75 cents out the levy rate.
Not quite that much probably, but yes, you're in that range.
Yep, and other communities have been having that same conversation on the impacts that they'll have. The largest, Metro Coalition, all of us, the top 10 cities, have been having this same conversation with the legislature everywhere we go. So we're hoping they listen and take a look at that, because for Waterloo, it may be 73, 75 cents. You know, Des Moines and other areas would really take a hit as well. So people are letting their voices be heard.
And that, Mr. Mayor, on that question on the mayors and city officials, city staff, if they're talking to their legislators, are people like Cedar Valley Economic Development talking about it as well? So we've got a bigger coalition than just the 10 or 15 cities.
Right. That's a good question. I attended a legislative luncheon probably, a month and a half ago. And it had chamber folks there, it had legislators, it had city officials, Cedar Falls was there. And just that whole grouping, we're talking, the first question that came out was that, and making sure they honor that commitment. So there's massive conversations taking place across the state with those regards.
So our economic development groups are talking to the legislators about keeping that money coming in.
Yeah, I would think so.
Okay.
And then it was a topic of conversation last Thursday in Des Moines as well.
Well, that's what it takes. Citizens, coalitions, having those kinds of conversations.
So, one of the things is I haven't seen the data yet that shows that since this has been put in place that there's been an uptick or massive businesses that have moved into the state. We can say the move did decrease the overall corporate tax that people have to pay. That's easily documented from a quantitative standard. But whether or not we've attracted those business, we've had that type of growth and success. I don't know if I've seen data to say statewide that, more businesses are coming in yet. And that would be some helpful information to see.
That would be good.
So that they could roll back the corporate tax decrease.
But absolutely something to think about.
Motion for adjournment.
Second. Made, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay, I'm going to call the Boards and Commission Committee meeting to order. If you would, Kelly, please do the roll call.
Mr. Jacobs?
Here.
Mr. Amos?
Here.
Mr. Powers?
Here.
Okay, I'm looking for a motion to approve the agenda as proposed.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move to approve the agenda as proposed.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We have an agenda. If someone would please take 1A, B, and C, since they are all new appointments, or a new appointment or a reappointment, all for the same expiration date.
Mr. Chairman, I would move to receive and file Mayor Hart's recommendation of the following appointments to the Leisure Services Commission with expiration dates of 3/1/2020, and they would be for Megan Hannum, Brenton Shavers, and Brenda Durbon, and that's, I'd move that for appointments.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to appoint the 3 individuals so named. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, I move for adjournment.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are in adjournment. Thank you.
Let's call our Finance Committee to order. Madam Clerk, would you read the roll, please?
Mr. Jacobs?
Here.
Mr. Powers?
Here.
Mr. Welper?
Here.
Mr. Chairman, I'd move the approval of the agenda and the minutes of February 20th, 2017 as proposed.
Second.
Motion a second on the agenda and minutes. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion passes. New business. Someone would take those?
Mr. Chairman, we have some travel requests tonight. Number 1, Leanne Evan, Deputy City Clerk, would like to attend the Iowa Municipal Finance Officers Association Spring Conference in Des Moines, April 20th through the 21st, not to exceed $386. Tim Moyer, Chief Electrical Inspector, to attend the IAEI 2017 Annual Spring Conference in Riverside, Iowa, April 4th through the 6th, amount not to exceed $275. Paul Hudding, Todd Deerfield, Travis Nichols, James Bolzer, and Mark Gallagher to attend the Iowa Park and Recreation Spring Conference in Waterloo, March 28th through the 30th, amount not to exceed $1,125. Officers Molenbrook, Schaff, and Wilson to attend the Sniper Craft Basic Sniper Course, Raymond, Iowa, April 24th to 28th, not to exceed $1,875. Lieutenant McClelland and Lieutenant Fagman to attend the Investigating Officer Involved Shootings class in Johnston, Iowa, April 4th through the 6th, not to exceed $1,310. Philip Schubert, Stormwater Specialist, to attend the Iowa State University Iowa Water Conference Watershed Management Partnership for Progress class in Ames, Iowa, March 22nd through the 23rd, not to exceed $125. Interviewee Assistant Director Collection System Maintenance request. Interviewee for Assistant Director of Collection Systems Maintenance in Waterloo, Iowa. Dates March 9th through the 16th, not to exceed $500.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the 7 travel requests. Any discussion, any of those items?
I just question the title of this director, interviewee assistant.
Which one's that, Tom?
On the, I'm sorry, number 7. Can somebody explain that maybe?
Michelle Wiedner, Chief Financial Officer. That is for a possible job candidate to come here. That's why it says interviewee, because we're interviewing someone for the position of Assistant Director of Collection Systems Maintenance, and that's at the sewer plant.
Okay, and we're gonna spend $500 to bring them here.
That's what we're asking. If you would approve that, they will approve, it'll be up to that.
Yep.
We don't know. That I just put in estimated dates because they don't know the dates the individual will actually come, and we don't know if he would plan to fly or drive, so I'm not sure what the expenses will be, but they wanted to offer up to $500 reimbursement for that.
Is that a common practice throughout the city?
It's actually extremely unusual, but as those of you who have been here a while know, we have had a relatively difficult time getting qualified candidates for, first of all, for the director position, and we had advertised several times for the assistant as well. And actually, I see Mr. Rodemeyer hiding in the audience. He might be able to speak to that better than I can.
I'm sorry, I should have asked this privately, but
Jim Rodemeyer, Human Resources Director. We have advertised this position extensively throughout the United States, and we have the one individual that we have given a telephone interview to, and it seems like a very viable candidate. We would like to bring him in here and have a more extensive interview, and also allow him to see the city and the plant.
Mr. Rodemeyer, how long has this position been vacant?
It's been vacant for over a year, at least.
and I'm assuming there's money in the budget to do this. We can do, it's just an assumption.
This position is funded. I guess I would share a little bit more history before Mr. Rodemeyer was back with us. The position, we did have an individual retire. It was a slightly different position at that time. We tried, I guess you could say, trying to go without it. Then during that time period is when the EPA got very serious with us about the consent decree. And we didn't want to hire an assistant when we were looking for a department head. So you needed to hire one before you got to the next one. And that's why we've been looking for this one for at least several months now. So that is the process we're trying to follow to get a good team in place for the sewer plant so that we can satisfy the consent decree and all the other needs that we have for the plant.
Okay. So it's kind of like paying a little bit of money for emerging leaders. If department head decides to retire for whatever reason, we'll have somebody in place to take over that role with quality. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. This motion's passed. Pre-auths.
Mr. Chairman, I would take the pre-auths, expend over $1,000 for the airport, the amount shipping and handling $2,546.02, expenditure airport share of the wildlife hazard assessment agreement with the Iowa Department of Transportation and the USDA Wildlife Services. Building maintenance is an amended amount of money, and that's amount estimated $3,298.70 plus $100 shipping and handling. And that expenditure replace variable frequency drive for one of our air handlers at the Phi Sullivan Brothers Convention Center. Central garage, the amount estimated shipping and handling $25,879, and that expenditure is to purchase a used 2016 F-350 box truck for the Center of Arts and Downtown Operations. Central garage, amount estimated shipping and handling of $2,870.83. That expenditure is a high-pressure oil pump for Truck 107. Leisure services, amount and estimated shipping and handling of $1,665. And that expenditure, one pickup topper for Truck 410-222. Leisure services, amount estimated $12,100, with the expenditure going towards electronic scoreboard to be placed at the youth ball fields at Tibbetts Field. Leisure services again, amount estimated shipping, handling, NTE, $8,800, with expenditure construction and design services from AHTS Architects. For MIS department, the amount is estimated, shipping handling $3,800. Expenditure is for Extreme Network 48 port switch. So, police, the amount estimated, shipping handling $24,995.95. Expenditure for direct link crisis response throw phone system. Sanitation department, the amount estimated $1,346 plus $100 for shipping and handling. That expenditure is to replace 3-yard dumpsters. Street department, amount estimated, shipping and handling of $3,334.14. And that expenditure is to replace a drill press. Traffic operations, the amount and estimated shipping and handling $1,715, and that expenditure is for 9 pre-formed loops to replace those removed during the reconstruction of Fletcher Avenue intersection. Traffic operations, amount and estimated shipping and handling of $9,326.16 plus $360 for shipping and handling, and that expenditure is for thermoplastic arrows and sealers.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on all the pre-auths. Any questions on any of those items?
Mr. Chairman, I had a question for Paul.
Okay.
On the $8,800, what are we designing?
Paul Heading, Leisure Services Director. That's designed for the skate park that was basically destroyed in the flood last September. So we have to have a design before we can go out for a replacement. We'll be asking for FEMA funds to cover this.
So we're not going to rebuild exactly what was there.
We're hoping to rebuild with concrete. What's there now is wood with a skate light on top of it. Those items all float. This is the second time. The flood of '08 was the first time. We know now that this type of a flood can happen more than once, so we're hoping to go to concrete. That's our plan if FEMA will help us with mitigation.
And Mr. Chairman, if we could find out a little more information on the direct link crisis response throw phone system for $25,000.
Dan Tralka, Police Chief. We've had one of these phones before. It's quite old and no longer functions. It's more than simply just a phone. There are many features built into it that we utilize that I would not like to discuss publicly, but I'm willing to discuss privately. And it's made in Milwaukee. 3 companies in the entire country make these type of phones, one in Connecticut, one in California. The current one we have is one manufactured in Milwaukee. We're going back to the same company. It's been a good, reliable phone until it no longer began to function. And we actually do use it probably annually.
So without going into details, it helps assist you in doing your job to bring down our crime.
It does, yes. And several different funding sources are being utilized to fund it.
Gotcha.
Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Those items are passed. And today we have 2 budget line item amendments, which are on file at the city clerk's office. And the bills payment this week, $1,105,761.38. That's 1,105,761.38.
Second.
Motion and a second on the bills payment. Questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Bills are paid.
Mr. Chairman, I move for adjournment.
Second.
Motion and a second on adjournment. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our city council. It's February 27th. Madam Clerk, roll call.
Mr. Jacobs?
Here.
Mr. Morrissey?
Here.
Mr. Powers?
Here.
Mr. Lind?
Here.
Mr. Amos?
Here.
Mr. Schmidt?
Here.
Mr. Welper?
Here.
All right, we have a full council this evening. And we also have some feedback. All right, if you would please join me right now in a moment of silence. You can stand or you can sit, it's your option. Please join me in a moment of silence. All right, thank you. This evening's Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Paul Hudding, Leisure Services Director.
Please join me in the pledge to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. You may now be seated if you are not already. Mr. Welper.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda as proposed and also the minutes of February 20th, 2017 regular session.
Second.
That motion has been made with the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We have an agenda and some minutes. Did we do Okay. All right, we have some special guests with us today. Our Optimist Basketball Coach and Player of the Year Award. So Alex, if you would join us and bring up some of your special guests. All right, hello. How are you? How are you? Good, good. Thank you. Thank you. Some of you can stand around if you want. And you can stand on this side over here. There we go. But Alex, what do we have today?
Today we're here to recognize some of our outstanding coaches and players from this season with the Waterloo Leisure Services Optimist Basketball Program. This year alone, we had over 350 kids participate in basketball, starting all the way down at pre-K, all the way up to 5th and 6th graders. Both of you guys are 6th graders, right? 5th, okay. So we have a 5th grader and a 6th grader here today. We started way back in November with our pre-K clinic for the kids, and we just wrapped up last weekend, or Friday the 17th, with the boys tournament. We had over 25 volunteer coaches help us for the program this year. That's enough with the numbers. Now we'll get to the important people that are standing up here with me. First off, Coach of the Year for our 4th through 6th grade girls are Aaron Love and Lamar Kirk. These guys have been around for a while. We always joke with each other about how long we've been seeing each other on Saturday mornings. So thanks guys for helping out. It's been a number of years. Our boys coach, Damian Butters, UNI student, first time helping us out. Did a great job. Had to fight through an injury with a bad wheel midway through the season, but he still showed up every day, even with his crutches, so thank you. Next up, our Player of the Year for the girls is Lamaya Pratchett. Lamaya is small in stature, but when she's out on the court, look out. She can handle the ball and she likes to play defense. Dominic Freeman is our boys 5th through 6th grade boys Player of the Year. Outstanding shooter. Team was undefeated. He played point guard for him, so he's kind of the team leader. So, going to be an outstanding player here in the area. So, thank you.
All right. Before we move on, though, can we first can we ask the coaches? Why do you do this? Why do you come out and participate? Because the pay is so good.
Well, I just volunteer, just to see the smiles on the kids' face and keep them active, and keep them loving the game.
All right.
Mainly just giving back. That's about it, giving the kids a positive outlet.
Mr. Butler?
Honestly, I heard this was an opportunity, and I've always wanted to coach, so I thought I'd give it a try.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And let's ask the young people, why do you play?
Because
I like to play defense.
All right.
It's always been my dream to play basketball.
All right, it's been your dream to play basketball. So I just want to say first to Alex and Leisure Services, thank you for doing such an excellent job with our young people and putting them first. To the coaches, you don't have to do it, but it's in your heart to do it. So we appreciate all that you do because you make the programs that we have for our young people. And to you two, continue to focus hard in school, continue to be good athletes as well, and thank you for participating in this program. All right, thank you. Almost cracked a joke with regards to Councilman Morrissey, and same height and all that stuff. But I would never do anything like that to such a well-respected council member. I would never even think something like that.
Well, thank you for the thought, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you so much. Right now we have oral presentations. This is your opportunity to address the council on matters that you believe that need to be heard. First up, we have Dean Smith of Falk Road with regards to handicap parking issues. So, Dean, if you would approach it. Let us know your name and your address and tell us your thoughts.
I come here. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, just pull the mic down towards you. There we go.
I'll stand as long as I can.
All right.
I come here because something that gravely concerns me is handicap parking for us handicapped people. I can stand for so long, but I can't walk very far. And I see so many people who are perfectly in good health. They could walk clear across the parking lot at Walmart or any other place, and we get there before I probably could even get in there with my chair. But they will inevitably park there and make it so I can't. And other people like me. That hurts me. Hurts my feelings and the disrespect that they have. First off, my name is Dean Smith, and I watch over a friend's farm out on Falk Road. Why? Because people were coming and stealing from him and the neighbors, even in the midnight hour. So my wife and I have a motorhome, and we park there along the road and watch over his farm. Several people have mentioned to me lately they're glad we're there because they have less people stealing out there now. Thank God. I come here with lots of respect for each one of you. I know Mr. Schmidt somewhat. Harold Getty convinced me to come down here a couple nights ago. So I'm heading towards 68, but I have lots of problems with my knees, my hips, my shoulders, my wrists. Can't do the things that I used to do as a carpenter and as a welder. I realize now that I am approaching 68. There's a lot of us that are getting older. And we need more handicap parking throughout the city and at the stores. I've approached the managers over at Walmart and mentioned to them they need to have more parking
readily available for people like me up front. And I was just thinking, it would be nice if them, along many other stores, would take the first 3 parking places in each row closest to the store and make those handicapped. There just isn't enough. So I think what's happening, and I think it's the DOT has made it pretty clear. There are people who are going around and stealing the stickers off of people's vehicles and out of their vehicles if they can break into them. So I don't know for sure what the city police department can do, but I think that if the stores can't manage watching over these spaces for handicapped people, then we need to have the police department, as they roll through the parking lot, to roll around there and look and see if there's people parked there that don't have stickers. I know you got many, many other things to do, but I even said to Mr. Getty, I feel like taking a camera, and when I see somebody parked in a space that was made for me, or someone like me, to take a picture of their license plate, their vehicle, and the spot they're in, and turn it over to the police department or the DOT. Maybe if some of them lost their licenses, maybe it would change a lot of things. So, thank you for listening to me.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Smith. Dan, I think you heard a concern to making sure that people are adequately utilizing the space. If someone did take a picture and they don't have any type of permit and they had documented or proven it, can that be done? Is that an offense? Or?
Dan Trelka, Chief of Police. If somebody did do that, it certainly is useful information for us, and we would follow up on it.
Okay. And I don't know if I think Eric is gone, but no, when we work with a business, like just Walmart or whatever business, are there a certain amount of parking spaces that are allocated, or is it what's that based on?
Noel Anderson, Community Planning Development Director. Correct. There are zoning ordinance requirements for the number of handicap spaces per the ADA code per a certain number, so it'll be like 1 per 200 or something like that, based on the overall development of the site plan. So there is a certain number of required spaces that'll be handicap spaces in their layout.
So is that a state code, federal, local, or how?
I believe it's a federal code.
Okay.
I can verify that, but it's either state or federal code that we follow, and it's written that way in the ordinance.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Smith.
I just wanted to ask, is there any way that the chamber here, the police departments, can approach these different agencies who have written these policies and maybe cause them to realize there needs to be a revision or update on it?
Well, I'm thinking that comes from the federal level. So we would have to have a conversation with Senator Grassley, Senator Ernst, Congressman Bloom, our local folks. I think that's where that conversation would start. But I guess I hadn't heard that they're, so I don't, yeah, that's a good question.
Well, I just think that
need to take a look at it.
we need to do something about it.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Jim Chapman, 224 Birch. I got a question about some property on the corner of
I think it's Devonshire and Amesboro, that I think is coming up for bid in March. And I think the starting bid is something like 16,000, if I'm not mistaken. Is this another one of those Hawkeye homes that are going to be built with Hawkeye money and our money on that corner? I went over and looked at that lot today, and I'll tell you, they got a lot of fill or a lot of drainage problems there if they do. And I know some of the neighbors I talked to over there today are really upset.
So it is an existing residence,
It's not, it's a vacant lot, sir.
a vacant lot?
And I think it was, excuse me, didn't mean to interrupt you, but I think it was due to the widening of Amesboro, that lot came available. And it doesn't look very wide to me, but if you're gonna put a driveway in, and I think somebody's gonna have some drainage problems there. I don't know who, but is that property coming up in March for bid?
It's a possibility.
That would be,
Oh, no, yes.
Noel Anderson, Community Planning Development Director. The lot has been identified as excess right-of-way. Since it was acquired under the Interstate Substitution Program, we are required to follow 306.23 for its disposal. So we have had it surveyed, appraised at $16,000. By state code, we have to offer it back to the original owner who is deceased and to the abutting property owners, so we have sent out notice to them. By state code, if any of them offer the $16,000, they can buy it. If they do not offer the $16,000 or no offers are received within the time period, which I believe is up in, I think it's March 16th or March 21st, one of those dates, then the city can dispose of it as it wishes. Hawkeye has shown potential interest in that site, looking at it as a potential home site, but nothing's been finalized yet because we're still waiting to see if someone else buys it for the $16,000 first.
Is this under the property that I think Mr. Morrissey said at one time, the Welper Hawkeye housing? I think that's what he said one time at a council meeting.
is this potentially one of the sites that, well, you just said they're
Correct,
interested,
yes.
they're interested in looking at
They'd be
that
interested in
site.
looking at the site.
Anybody can bid on this?
No, the first, the people that can bid on it for the $16,000 and kind of have that first right are the people that received interest, or received notice from our office.
And if they don't, can anybody else bid on it?
Correct. Then it would be open for the city to sell as it wishes.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Yes, sir.
Hi, I'm Dennis Jewell. I live at 3905 Sager Avenue, and I'm here representing the Green Hill Progress neighborhood. I watched the session this afternoon, and on the line item, there was funds for the stoplight at that intersection. It was said that it couldn't be completed this year, and they wanted some of those funds to move for other projects. Sandy mentioned that it would take $40,000 to design the intersection. I would say that what they need to do is go down and look at the intersection of South Main and Green Hill Road in Cedar Falls. And it could be designed like that. The only thing that would be required would be some paint, some signs, and stoplights to narrow the highway coming from the east down to one lane so that the inside lane could make a left turn onto Sager, which there's not that much moving that way, but most of the traffic's heading north on Progress. I think that this is something we really need to get done this year, if at all possible. I tried to cross it on foot this afternoon at 4:45, and I couldn't. So I went back and got in my car, and I drove up to the end of Sager, came out, made a right turn on Green Hill, got up there to make a left turn to go on to Progress Avenue. There is a lot of traffic, a lot of speeders on that way. Maybe set up a couple speed traps once in a while and pick some of these people up. But I just would appreciate if we could get this done. When we originally met about this, it was told that it'd take 2 to 3 years to get it done. This was in October of 2014, so we're in this October, it'll be 3 years. So let's get this thing done, and so it improves the safety. Last weekend when it was really nice out there, there was a lot of people in the park, and they come from across the street with little kids to cross the road to get to that park. People from the neighborhood go across to use the trails, and And for the foot traffic alone, I think it would be wise to get this done as soon as possible. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you. And you are right, you have been patient. That's why we're going to get that study done. But Sandy, just really quickly, when it goes to the creation of a project such as this, what all is entailed from studies, counts, we have to, and then I think you said some of it we can possibly do here, maybe, or something, so we can give an update for those that didn't see the CIP meeting a little bit earlier.
Sandy Greco, Superintendent of Traffic. What we do is we will hire a consultant to help our traffic engineer to do a complete study, which means they will take in, what they'll do is they'll go out and do counts at different times of the day for a number of days. You also have to take into effect that each intersection is different. We just can't go copy another intersection. This one has different, how can I say, right-of-ways and everything, and different ways traffic flows. So all that will be studied, and then we'll work with engineers. There could be sewer intakes that have to be moved. There's a lot more to a design than just measuring what we need for signals. And there's also utilities, and we have to see what's out there for utilities. Could be Mid-American Energy has a gas main in the way, that would have to be moved. So that's all in the design. So that's what it's all about. We have to be ready to know exactly which equipment to order and what we need.
And this is the same one that we thought with the traffic that would be with the University Avenue. Is this the one we thought we'd be able to possibly connect this project? Is this the same one?
It was mentioned, but no,
Yeah.
I don't,
And
too far away.
yeah, and I
Yeah.
think, because I remember even telling you that, so I won't move away from what I did say then, but this one, because there was no tie-in from distance or too far away, that's why she moved it up on the CIP this year as a high priority. And so it is considered a high priority to get it in there and get started on the design work. So I do thank you. You have been advocating for this for some time. And then a couple of the council members have kind of made sure that we didn't forget that.
Well, I don't
as
forget
well.
them.
Oh, it's all good. You've been patient and diligent, and Sandy did have it in as a high priority. So we're going to get in there and get it designed. If we can move quicker, we will. But we're going to move forward on this.
I know we'd really appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Sandy.
David Dreyer, 3145 West 4th Street. I have a couple of questions. I heard, I'm not sure whether I read it in the paper, I heard on the radio that Cedar Falls is planning in this construction season to start at Midway and the other end where they are completing the roundabout. I understand from comments that were made when we took over University Avenue that we want to do our part at that intersection at the same time, which is a good idea. So the intersection is tore up at one time. However, there have been no public hearings or a design, a bid, or a contractor. Now is a bad time to go to have a good bid on that part of the intersection. Most contractors have already lined up their work for this year. So if we decide to jump into this, to complete our half of the intersection, we're probably going to realize a higher bid than we would have got if we'd got this planning all done. So when are we planning, or when do we expect to be able to see the public meetings and the plan and design and the cost, you know, the bids going out, et cetera, because we're too late already for this year. But they're going to start at Midway this year. Okay, so when are we going to see it? That's one question. And sitting through the financial thing, I think I've asked this question before, but I don't remember the answer I got, if I got one. Are these pre-authorizations over $1,000 part of their budget? or is it extra money that they get over and above their budget?
Is that the only questions you have for us, sir?
Yes, sir.
All right. Eric is gone. No, you want to give us some type of update, but we haven't. Oh, we have Doug Shindo in the audience. Doug, you want to come on up too? And see you hiding back there in that green.
I was raising my hand, sorry. I can comment on the University Avenue progress. We are in the study phase of that, and we're looking at a public meeting coming up in March. We haven't made any decisions, as you know, yet. We want to hear from the public what type of ideas they have, but we're just going through the analysis from a traffic standpoint at each of the intersections along the corridor. We have coordinated with the city of Cedar Falls. As you know, they have led their project, their Phase 2 project, which is what was just discussed for Midway, and they have temporary paving going in there now. What we're looking at is trying to coordinate with them to potentially add into their project kind of the final design of that intersection, which would include potential turn lanes on Midway Drive. They couldn't get into that because there was some right-of-way and easement needs potentially along Midway Drive, so they had to wait until we got into the design, and we're trying to coordinate with that to save costs and inconvenience to the public. So, we don't want to get in there twice if we can at all avoid it. So when they're doing the west half of the intersection, we don't want to come back next year and do the east half and inconvenience folks twice. So we're trying to avoid that, and that's what we're coordinating to avoid. So we're getting into the preliminary design of that intersection first and would expedite the design at that intersection.
So next month, well, a couple days from now, we will go into some of the public meetings and updates that we talked about doing with the public. Also, there was a reason to take a look at doing Midway to Fletcher or Amesboro, because we wanted to make sure that we serve, one, that we can have a consistent project leaving Cedar Falls to Waterloo, but also, though, was it to support the business corridor that's currently there, so we can go ahead, make those changes and whatnot. But do we have a final design yet, or are we working through with the public for some of their comments as well?
No, we have, the decisions haven't been made yet. We want to get it out and hear from the public first before any final decisions are made.
And are we going to do anything with that project this year with regards to construction?
The only thing that we could, given council approval, would be to expedite that Midway intersection.
The intersection, but as far as going in here, doing the entire road, we're not planning on doing that.
No, that's scheduled
this year.
for next year.
All right, thank you.
You bet.
And then, Ms. Wiedner, the pre-auths, are they part of the overall budget in that department, or is this separate from those budgets?
Michelle Wiedner, Chief Financial Officer. In general, one of the things that I do before it's presented to council is make sure there's funding identified for pre-authorization. Generally, they are already in either an operating or a capital improvement budget. We are bringing it to the Finance Committee so they can review the expense. We only do it for the larger expenses, and they can see that it's been bid appropriate and those kind of things.
So this isn't like new money. This is mostly what's been budgeted for within those departments?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else that would like to address the council at this time? Going a second time?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Make a motion, receive and file oral comments.
Second.
Motion's been made with the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda. That's items 1 through 3C. And within that are the bills payment. Bills payment is $1,105,761.38. That's 1,105,761.38.
Second.
That motion has been made with the second. Council, any questions? Madam Clerk?
Mr. Jacobs?
Yes.
Mr. Morrissey?
Yes.
Mr. Powers?
Yes.
Mr. Lind?
Yes, except 1A5. No on 1A5.
Mr. Amos?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Welper?
Yes.
All right, those items carry. Brenda Durbin, are you here? Brenda, would you please stand up for us? Brenda is a new appointment to the Leisure Services Board, so we thank you for your future commitment and your willingness to serve the city of Waterloo. So thank you very much, Brenda. Do we have Megan or Brenton here as well? All right, thank you. Could someone take number 2 in public hearings, please?
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Schmidt.
Item number 2 is a motion to receive and file proof of publication and notice of public hearing, and that's for the fiscal year 2017 Riverfront Stadium Flood Repair Project.
Second.
That motion has been made with a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The hearing is now open. Is there anyone in the audience that have particular questions about this project for some flood repair? Going a second time?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to close the hearing.
Second.
That motion has been made with a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to adopt a resolution confirming approval of plans, specifications, form of contract, etc.
Second.
The motion has been made with a second. Council questions?
Mr. Mayor, I think we've had Mr. Hudding talk about this in the past, but just in case anybody missed, what's the long-term plan here so that we aren't doing this every so many floods?
Paul Hudding, Leisure Services Director. As you know, we had similar issues in 2008. Not as bad this time. That's the good news. The bad news is it's still a significant repair. We are, wherever possible, raising electrical panels higher, changing materials. For example, if you dig into the specs here, you'll see plastic or polymer restroom dividers instead of metal and some things like that. So we're trying to dig down and do as much flood-resistant improvement as we can as we do it. We've also taken a look at the possibility of a temporary flood barrier, and that would be something along the lines of a HESCO or some kind of an inflatable portable barrier to actually prevent the water from getting into the stadium. We don't have a specific plan on that. We'd ask FEMA to participate for mitigation if they would. So,
thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Other questions, Council? Madam Clerk?
Mr. Morrissey?
Yes.
Mr. Powers?
Yes.
Mr. Lind?
Yes.
Mr. Amos?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Welper?
Yes.
Mr. Jacobs?
Yes.
That item carries.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to adopt a resolution authorizing to proceed.
Second.
Motion's been made with the second. Madam Clerk?
Mr. Powers?
Yes.
Mr. Lind?
Yes.
Mr. Amos?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Welper?
Yes.
Mr. Jacobs?
Yes.
Mr. Morrissey?
Yes.
All right.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to receive, file, and instruct the city clerk to read the bids.
Second.
Motion's been made with the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Madam Clerk?
It's a long one. So the project estimate was $253,000. The first bid came from Koch Construction of Waterloo, Iowa. They provided 5% security. Their base bid was $143,200. Alternate 1A was $27,765. Alternate 1B was $33,400. Alternate 2 was $3,420. Alternate 3, $5,325. Alternate MA1 was $4,720. Alternate MA2 was $1,260. Alternate EA1 was $290. Alternate EA2 was $1,120. Alternate EA3 was $200. Second bid came in from Mott Construction of Sumner, Iowa. They provided 5% security. Their base bid was $175,000. Alternate number 1A was $20,000. Alternate 1B was $26,000. Alternate number 2 was $3,000. Alternate 3 was $4,400. Alternate MA1 was $4,000. Alternate MA2 was $1,500. Alternate EA1 was $250. Alternate EA2 was $1,100. Alternate EA3 was $500. Third bid came from Peters Construction of Waterloo, Iowa. They provided 5% security. Their base bid was $142,142. Alternate 1A came in at $23,888. Alternate 1B came in at $28,028. Alternate 2 was $2,662. Alternate 3 was $2,336. Alternate MA1 was $4,444. Alternate MA2 was $1,350. Alternate EA1 was $850. Alternate EA2 was $1,474. Alternate EA3 was $444. Next bid came from Sticky Construction of Waverly, Iowa. They provided 5% security. The base bid was $148,797. Alternate 1A was $24,800. Alternate 1B was $29,900. Alternate 2 was $2,850. Alternate 3 was $3,100. Alternate MA1 was $4,729. Alternate MA2 was $1,543. Alternate EA1 was $350. Alternate EA2 was $1,370. Alternate EA3 was $1,000. Next bid was Tricon Construction of Dubuque, Iowa. This is the second to last one. They provided 5% security. Their base bid was $166,000. Alternate number 1A was $23,000. Alternate 1B was $27,000. Alternate 2 was $3,500. Alternate 3 was $4,000. Alternate MA1 was $5,000. Alternate MA2 was $1,300. Alternate EA1 was $300. Alternate EA2 $1,200. Alternate EA3 was $800. The last bid came from Woodruff Construction of Waterloo, Iowa. They provided 5% security. Their base bid amount was $145,700. Alternate 1A was $30,000. Alternate 1B, $36,000. Alternate 2 was $2,400. Alternate 3 was $2,300. Alternate MA1 was $4,200. Alternate MA2 was $1,200. Alternate EA1 was $300. Alternate EA2 was $1,200. Alternate EA3 was $350. And Fairleigh Hurley Construction of Waterloo, Iowa provided no bid. That's it.
Okay.
Should we applaud?
I missed a couple of those. Can you do it again?
No.
All right, Mr. Schmidt.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to adopt a resolution approving award of contract to Peters Construction of Waterloo, Iowa in the amount of $179,590 and approving the contract, bonds, and certificate of insurance for the fiscal year 2017 Riverfront Stadium Flood Repair Project and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute said documents.
Second.
That motion has been made with the second. Questions? Madam Clerk?
Mr. Lind?
Yes.
Mr. Amos?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Welper?
Yes.
Mr. Jacobs?
Yes.
Mr. Morrissey?
Yes.
Mr. Powers?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Number 3.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr.
I
Land.
move to receive and file proof of publication of notice of public hearing, which is a request by the city of Waterloo to vacate a portion of the former frontage road located east of and adjacent to 1326 LaPorte Road.
Second.
That motion has been made with the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The hearing is now open. Is there anyone that would like to speak about this particular item on the agenda? Going a second time.
Mr. Mayor, I move to close the hearing
Second.
And also,
and approve the recommendation of approval of the Planning Program and Zoning Commission.
Second.
all right, the motion has been made with the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that item, the hearing is closed. Mr. Lane.
Mr. Mayor, I move to receive, file, and consider and pass for the first time an ordinance approving a request to vacate a portion of former frontage road located east of and adjacent to 1326 LaPorte Road.
Second.
A motion has been made with the second. Council, questions about this item? Mr. Schmidt?
Could we have a little overview there, Mr. Anderson?
No, because we have an overview.
Bill Anderson, Community Planning Development Director. This is basically a portion of the parking area in front of the enterprise zone parking facility. It was sold back in 2014. At that time, there was, if you look at the map, there was 2 sections on 2 different parcels there of former frontage road. We vacated the southern lot and did not vacate the northern lot. At that time, we believed that the northern lot had been previously vacated, so we did not follow through with that action. We have sold both of them in 2014 through a development agreement for them to build the southerly building. They have met all the requirements of that development agreement, so now we're just basically going back and cleaning up and vacating the part that we previously sold to the north.
Did you say enterprise zone or enterprise?
Enterprise car, sorry, I did say enterprise zone.
Program, mixed up. Okay. Mr. Schmidt, is that sufficient?
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, so
Yes,
the
sir.
property has already been conveyed. The bottom line is. the
Correct, this is
property
basically just legal follow-up to make everything correct.
Okay.
All right, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Amos?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Welper?
Yes.
Mr. Jacobs?
Yes.
Mr. Morrissey?
Yes.
Mr. Powers?
Yes.
Mr. Lind?
Yes.
All right, that item carries.
Mr. Mayor, I move to suspend the rules.
Second.
Motion's been made with the second. Madam Clerk.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Welper?
Yes.
Mr. Jacobs?
Yes.
Mr. Morrissey?
Yes.
Mr. Powers?
Yes.
Mr. Lind?
Yes.
Mr. Amos?
Yes.
All right, that item carries.
Mr. Mayor, I move to consider and pass for the second and third times and adopt the ordinance.
Second.
Motion's been made with the second. Madam Clerk.
Mr. Welper?
Yes.
Mr. Jacobs?
Yes.
Mr. Morrissey?
Yes.
Mr. Powers?
Yes.
Mr. Lind?
Yes.
Mr. Amos?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
All right, that item carries. Number 4, please.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a motion to receive and file proof of publication, notice of public hearing on demolition services contract for demolition services at 1020 Wellington Street, 717 Fairview Street, 27 John Street, 408 to 410 Logan Avenue, 1120 Washington Street, 1201 Mulberry Street, 106 Woodside Drive, 1017 Chalmers Avenue, and 1005 Chalmers Avenue.
Second.
The motion has been made with the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the hearing is now open. Is there anyone that would like to speak for or against or have questions about this item on the agenda?
David Dryer, 3145 West 4th Street. I guess my only question is, how many properties does that bring us up to now?
What you mean, like?
That the city owns that, we're paying to demolish and then we mow them and maintain them and snow removal and, because I think the last time we talked about this, we were up to 175, and now I think I've seen 2 or 3 times now that the council has approved more demolition. So how many we're up to now?
No, do you have a guesstimate? Or can you reach out to my office and I can call Mr. Dryer, get you the number? Is that sufficient? He doesn't have the actual number right offhand, but I can get it to you tomorrow if you'd like.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Joseph Knappen. Nice to see you again, Mr. Mayor. My question would be, has there been any attempt as the city deals with this to sort of incorporate a refurbishment of these properties beyond what is already just turning them over to another real estate agency or finding a developer? Has there been any community action councilors or proceedings which would enable those properties to be brought back up to spec or even brought beyond spec to sort of elevate not just those given properties which belong to the city, but also those properties surrounding them, those neighborhoods?
All right. Good question. I need your address too.
Oh, 5503 Paradell.
Okay. Good question. I was going to wait till the hearing was closed to have no talk about that, but if correct me if I'm wrong, but we just created a new program where we incentivize people that will bid on that particular house. We used to charge, I think it was about $5,000. Someone bids and they have to begin at $5,000. The reason we had that dollar amount because as time went on, we found that people never came back and fixed up the houses that actually held them. So now that $5,000 will be given to a person that renovates the house, and an additional $5,000 will be added so that they can take these properties that were in a condition that could be rebuilt and then put them back on the tax rolls. Could be great first home buyer houses as well. So we're taking a look at that. We're actually incentivizing people now to take a look at the 657A houses and put them back on the rolls. But each one of these houses that come through is taken a look at by city staff, multiple departments, to actually see if they can be redeveloped and if it's cost efficient for someone to do that as well. So I would assume these houses are kind of like the worst of the worst. Anything can be rehabbed, of course, but I would consider these to probably be the worst of the worst. So we are trying programs, and Ms. Parrish is in the back right now from a project that we're working with in the Walnut Corridor to kind of help rebuild that neighborhood, take a look at some of these blighted houses, to fix them up, do some infill. So we have created a model that we may be able to duplicate and replicate into other neighborhoods. So that is the mindset now, seeing how we can actually make that, bring that, and revive those.
Is there any protocol for sort of adopting that to the same auction protocol that we have for reclaimed or confiscated automobiles and whatnot through the sheriff's department? And then I should leave.
Okay. Good question. I don't know. I don't even know how to answer that. but I think you bring up a good point, and that is, how do you take some of these houses and fix them up? Because once you fix them up, it changes the entire context of that neighborhood. And if you can create home ownership opportunities as well, that brings a different pride into those areas also. All right, any other questions for someone that may want to ask about this particular item on the agenda? Going a second time.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a motion to close the hearing and receive and file oral comments.
Second.
That motion has been made with the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item carries.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt a resolution confirming approval of plans, specifications, form of contract, et cetera.
Second, sir.
That motion has been made with the second. Council questions? Madam Clerk?
Mr. Jacobs?
Yes.
Mr. Morrissey?
Yes.
Mr. Powers?
Yes.
Mr. Lind?
Yes.
Mr. Amos?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Welper?
Yes.
All right, that item carries.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a motion I'd like to make a motion to adopt a resolution authorizing to proceed.
Second.
That motion has been made with the second. Council questions? Madam Clerk?
Mr. Morrissey?
Yes.
Mr. Powers?
Yes.
Mr. Lind?
Yes.
Mr. Amos?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Welper?
Yes.
Mr. Jacobs?
Yes.
Item carries.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a motion to receive and file and instruct the city clerk to read bids.
Second.
The motion has been made with the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Madam Clerk?
First bid came from Peterson Contractors Incorporated of Rhinebeck, Iowa. Their bid amount was $152,230. They provided 5% security. The second bid came from Lehman Trucking and Excavating of Incorporated of Waterloo, Iowa. They provided 5% security. Their bid amount was $99,775.
Mr. Mayor.
Oh, you done?
I'm done.
Oh, okay. I didn't know.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Morrissey.
I'd like to make a motion adopting resolution awarding demolition services contract to Lehman Excavating and Trucking for demolition services at 1020 Wellington Street, 717 Fairview Street, 27 John Street, 408 to 410 Logan Avenue, 1120 Washington Street, 1201 Mulberry Street, 106 Woodside Drive, 1017 Chalmers Avenue, and 1005 Chalmers Avenue in the amount of $99,775.
Second.
All right, the motion's been made with the second. Madam Clerk?
Mr. Powers?
Yes.
Mr. Lind?
Yes.
Mr. Amos?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Welper?
Yes.
Mr. Jacobs?
Yes.
Mr. Morrissey?
Yes.
What did we say was the bid estimate for that? 150? Okay. 115, okay, good. All right, number 5, please.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Item number 5 is a motion to receive and file proof of publication of notice of public hearing, and that's for the sale and conveyance of one city-owned property generally located adjacent to 419 Almond Street, in the amount of $1 to Iowa Heartland Habitat for Humanity and instruct city clerk to publish notice.
Second.
The motion has been made with the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing is now open. I forgot to ask, were there any comments on file?
No comments on file.
All right. Is there anyone that would like to speak for or against this particular item on the agenda or have questions? Going a second time.
Mr. Mayor, make a motion to close the hearing.
Second.
Motion has been made with the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the hearing is closed.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to adopt a resolution authorizing sale and conveyance of city-owned property located adjacent to 419 Almond Street to Iowa Heartland Habitat for Humanity in the amount of $1 and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute said document.
Second.
A motion has been made with the second. Council, questions about this item? Madam Clerk?
Mr. Lind?
Yes.
Mr. Amos?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Welper?
Yes.
Mr. Jacobs?
Yes.
Mr. Morrissey?
Yes.
Mr. Powers?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to adopt a resolution approving development agreement for the construction of a new residential home between Iowa Heartland Habitat for Humanity and the city of Waterloo, Iowa, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute said document.
Second.
A motion has been made with the second. Madam Clerk?
Mr. Amos?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Welper?
Yes.
Mr. Jacobs?
Yes.
Mr. Morrissey?
Yes.
Mr. Powers?
Yes.
Mr. Lind?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Congratulations, Ally. Thank you for all your work with Habitat. Could someone please take number 6?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
like to make a motion adopting resolution approving an encroachment agreement with Deanna Jolly to allow for an 8-foot by 12.5-foot patio in city-owned Hoover Street right-of-way located 1155 Hawthorne Avenue and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute said documents.
Second.
A motion has been made with the second. This item was tabled a couple weeks ago. Is there conversation?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr.
I
Land?
move to amend. I move to amend by deleting the number 8 and inserting the number 15.08.
08.
And what that effectively does is allows the encroachment for the entire patio. I don't know if anybody's been out there, but that place is neat as a pin. I've never seen a better property. Everything's new fence. It's just beautiful and enhances the neighborhood. You know, we have encroachments all over town that we allow, and we accommodate them usually. The latest one we did was out at Cherry Creek's area. They had encroachment of a sign, and we said, don't move it, we'll just let you be there. And I think it would just be fair to reward somebody that keeps this kind of care to her property by just, that encroachment doesn't bother anybody. Just leave it the way it is.
So,
Do you need a second on that amendment?
do we have a second?
I would second that motion, or that
Now,
amendment. yeah.
procedurally, are we only amending the resolution and then we're not approving it yet? We're just voting to
Yeah,
amend
right
it?
now you're voting to approve the amendment to the language, and if that passes,
Then
you vote to approve the resolution.
Okay. Any other questions about the amendment?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I'd kind of like to take a look at the map to understand what the actual amendment is, if I could take a minute to look at this.
I think to kind of easily sum it up, he's including the entire project in the amendment. So not just a portion of it, he's including the entire perimeter, and that's the size of what he's trying to do.
So if I remember correctly, what we had been looking at before was the entire length going all the way to the street. And then the amended part was supposed to be taking out a section of it, but still leaving part of it within the encroachment and then the patio side.
Right.
So the amendment is actually encompassing the entire thing right now.
Yeah. So any other questions? So we're voting to change the resolution to be 15.08 feet by 12 and a half feet. So, Madam Clerk, roll call vote.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Welper?
No.
Mr. Jacobs?
Yes.
Mr. Morrissey?
No.
Mr. Powers?
No.
Mr. Lind?
Yes.
Mr. Amos?
No.
So it fails.
All right.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
We tabled this so we could get a better understanding of what this was all about. I make it a point to... Excuse me. We tabled this to get a better understanding of what this encroachment is about. I've taken an oath to uphold the ordinances and the laws of the city of Waterloo, and I intend to do just that. If someone has made an honest mistake, I'm certainly willing to work with them. But here we have a situation where the homeowner, who was advised by the engineering department before a permit was ever issued that they could not do this, it was done during the process of the building permit and after that they could not do this. The homeowner said, well, nobody cares. Well, that's not true. The citizens do care because they've been watching this. They want to know where we're going with this. Are we going to start obeying our ordinances or just let people do whatever they wish? This should never even come before us. If we obey the laws that we're supposed to be doing, we wouldn't be wasting our time in situations like this.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
thinking back to the presentation or the testimony of the homeowner, she had made efforts to work with the city, and there was some confusion as she had thought she had a permit to do just what she had done here in these pictures. So, with all due respect, Mr. Welper, I think it wasn't that cut and dried, and I think there was some confusion. Maybe the city didn't communicate clearly enough in this case, perhaps, according to the homeowner's testimony. And as Councilman Lind has pointed out, she has upgraded her neighborhood and does look very nice. And it's a welcome addition to that neighborhood.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I just have to go to the description of this and what had occurred, and it appears that Councilman Welper is correct. It says here, during tech review, the engineering department opposed the encroachment agreement. Engineering also stated that when the applicant received a driveway waiver, that they asked about putting in the patio and were told that they could not put in the right-of-way. I believe that pretty much tells me that it was a action that was taken after being told, no, you can't do this. So.
All right.
Mr. Mayor.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
So just to make sure I'm clear, the motion as it reads and is going to require Mrs. Jolly to rip up that concrete. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes.
That seems like a real poor decision in my opinion, but
So
I think we want to be real careful. We start spouting too much about upholding all the rules and all the laws and all the ordinances of this city, because this council's danced around a lot of issues over the last 6 or 8 or 10 years for good reason, for logical reasons, and I think this is a logical case. So I think, we ought to kind of think that all the way through, because I think this is just a mess, and it seemed like Mrs. Jolly and the city were working to some kind of a resolution. I think Mr. Lynn's recommendation is a logical one.
And so what are you going to do tomorrow, Mr. Schmidt, when someone else does the same thing?
Well, I think
Mr. Welper,
if we can
on a
just
regular basis.
if we can just stick to the discussion on this, not because this is a tough situation.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
I just want to expand my point about existing encroachments. We just helped the Tech Works out, they had an encroachment. St. Ed's is encroaching on Mitchell Avenue. VGM is encroaching on Galactic Drive, they have been for 2 years. There's all kinds of encroachments around town that we either accommodate or look the other way. And if we're going to start hammering some little homeowner, then let's get the encroachment police out and start with the big boys first.
Mr. Mayor, Councilman Lind, at the same time, I mean, if you look at the information that's presented to us, we've got in tech review, we've got engineering department, we've got planning and zoning, which recommended denial of this agreement by a unanimous vote. You know, they're a group of citizens, like the person that's putting this in, that saw this and said, no, we do not agree that this should occur. And I happen to respect the people from planning and zoning, and their recommendation was to deny, as well as the engineering departments. Councilman Lind.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Morrissey, that's why we're here. We make the final decision based on the facts and based on our best judgment and what we perceive as what's going to benefit the taxpayers of Waterloo, because that's who elected us.
So I would probably say, I don't, kind of outside looking in, because I don't have a vote. I think there was due diligence on the part of city staff to communicate those things, but we do have a situation right now where we have a person with an existing encroachment, one that probably is very good looking. So that's the challenge, having someone that already put that together to have to be able to take that out. We have done some, we haven't done all, but this situation is a little bit tough. But so I'll take one comment and then we'll move on for the vote.
John Sherban, 1715 Robin Road. I sometimes wonder, certain things happen, certain things are ignored. We've got a building that we rent for our downtown equipment, plows and buildings and miscellaneous, that had the doors removed and walls put up with no permit. We had quite a discussion about that earlier. Nothing was ever said or done. And it's right over here on Jefferson Street. It used to be an auto parts store. And it was done by one of our bigger players here in the big city of Waterloo. And nothing was ever said about that. But some little lady comes in here that working her hind off trying to make her house pretty, and we got all kinds of time to jump on her. So we just can't pick out one person and go after them unless you're going to go after all of them. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's take this up for a vote.
Mr. Mayor, can I ask a question on
Yes,
that? So, just on the vote. So if a vote is no on this, what is the outcome of this resolution?
If a vote is no, no.
Joel Anderson, Community Planning Development Director. If a vote is yes, from the pictures that you have, essentially she'll be removing about 7.08 feet from the roadway back. If a vote is no, she'll be removing 15.08 feet back to where the actual property line is. There's about 15 feet of right-of-way there from the edge of the road to the actual property line.
Questions? Any more questions about it?
I would just make a comment, Mr. Mayor, that I did go there and look at the property. I've also done what I think is my due diligence in reviewing this. It's gone through 3 different bodies of volunteers who I think take their job seriously. It's been denied, so I'm going to support somewhat difficultly, because I do think it looks great. She's done a nice job with her home. But I'm going to support the volunteers who are on these boards and also our city staff who obviously at 3 different levels she was told no. And so I'm supporting a no vote.
Mr. Mayor, just so it's clear, after those comments, I am going to be on the side of the taxpayer.
Madam Clerk, and this is a resolution approving the encroachment agreement for a 8-foot by 12.5-foot patio, so it's in affirmative of what's currently on the agenda.
Mr. Welper?
No.
Mr. Jacobs?
Yes.
Mr. Morrissey?
No.
Mr. Powers?
No.
Mr. Lind?
Yes.
Mr. Amos?
No.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
All right, so that, the the allowance carries, right? It didn't?
No.
She removes all of it.
So she's got to take it all out, right?
Yep. Off the right-of-way.
So, so,
You can take it to court.
It's 4-3 vote, Mr. Mayor.
Keep track.
Tell Zelver be up VGM in the morning.
all right, 7 and 8.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Schmidt.
Item number 7 is a motion to approve change order number 1 for a decrease in the amount of $4,808.70 to Mack Construction of Sumner, Iowa, in conjunction with the Leisure Services Chemical Storage Building Project. And item number 8 is adopting a resolution approving completion of project and recommendation of acceptance of work performed by Mack Construction of Sumner, Iowa, at a total cost of $258,820.30 in conjunction with the Leisure Services Chemical Storage Building Project.
Second.
That motion has been made with the second. Council, any questions? Madam Clerk?
Mr. Jacobs?
Yes.
Mr. Morrissey?
Yes.
Mr. Powers?
Yes.
Mr. Lind?
Yes.
Mr. Amos?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Welper?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Number 9.
Mr.
please.
Mayor.
Yes, sir.
I move to adopt a resolution approving Riverview Recreational Area Trailblazers Off-Road Club user and maintenance agreement and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute said agreement.
Second.
That motion has been made with the second. Questions?
Mr. Mayor, I got a quick question for
Yes,
Paul.
sir.
It's a 20-year agreement, as I understand it. During the period of the agreement, if we get a divorce, can we get out of the agreement?
Paul Hudding, Leisure Services Director. There are a couple of clauses in the agreement that would allow either party to release themselves with cause. We are in the middle of a 20-year agreement now. We're asking for, or the Trailblazers are asking for some changes in the types of vehicles available there. So we're asking to, at the same time, basically restart the agreement. So we have been in a 20-year agreement.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Madam Clerk?
Mr. Morrissey?
Yes.
Mr. Powers?
Yes.
Mr. Lind?
Yes.
Mr. Amos?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Welper?
Yes.
Mr. Jacobs?
Yes.
All right, that item carries.
Motion for adjournment.
Second.
Motion been made with second. All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.